Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. It would seem that there's some sort of narrative going around that Tesla's actually losing demand. Tesla has ramped up their production in Shanghai too much, more than their actual market wants. There are not enough people to buy the amount of cars they now produce. There's too much competition now from other EVs. The Tesla success story is coming to an end. The market, media, stock analysts, investment banks, or whomever seem to look at Tesla's demand as almost binary. Either there is demand or not demand, and nothing in between. But Tesla has so much margin, they can reduce prices to restore demand. And unlike the competition, they can still make great profits. So Tesla's pricing isn't about how much Tesla would have to drop their prices in order to get demand. It's about how much lower it is relative to the competition's price, as the competition don't have the ability to offer a dynamic pricing model. The competition's pricing is binary. Either they sell at their price or they don't. If they lower their prices, they lose too much money, so they have to reduce supply instead of demand. The most obvious buffer Tesla has with demand is their long waiting lists. However, as we're generally referring to Shanghai, then the waiting list for the Model Y in China has actually dropped to just 1 to 4 weeks, whereas at the end of August, the wait time was 4 to 8 weeks, and the end of June, it was as long as 10 to 14 weeks. Obviously, that is a reduction in wait times, and could be viewed as demand dropping. But we also know what happened over that period. Tesla's supply increased dramatically too. Not to mention there was also the lost production with the lockdowns, thus increasing waiting list times back then. But think, if you were Tesla, what is easier to do? Sell your vehicles domestically with less shipping and transport issues, complexity of logistics, no import tariffs, less time to delivery, and some of the vehicles are eligible for local subsidies, compared to shipping them all the way to, say, Australia. I mean, can you imagine just the effort of having to drive that many cars off and on a ship each time? Hopefully Tesla will get FSD working to a level where the cars can get themselves on and off. Surely that's going to make things a lot easier for them. But anyway, I think it makes sense for Tesla to eat up all the local domestic demand first in China, now that they have all this additional supply. Tesla can deliver vehicles with a wait time of about 1 to 4 weeks, which is probably about optimal really, factoring in other variables. But possibly at these current price points, any vehicles additional to that would end up in inventory, as there would not be enough local Chinese domestic demand for that many vehicles, without lowering prices. Tesla also don't want to give the impression to the customers that they will eventually lower prices, or else consumers will wait for the hope of lower prices, and this may also delay demand. Due to the dynamic pricing Tesla offers, it means Tesla does have to also play a little bit of game theory when it comes to their pricing models. They don't want to be continually adjusting prices on a regular basis, otherwise customers will simply wait for a lower price. I'm also hearing some people are waiting for a lower cost Model Y, since Elon announced that he is embarrassed to be selling them for such a high price. Consumers thus inferring that eventually those prices will inevitably come down. This was the US long-range version he was referring to, but I don't think Tesla will lower the prices of them. I think the tax credit will take care of that. Okay, so each quarter, Tesla needs to get this balance right of delivering enough vehicles to China to meet the local demand there just right, with almost just-in-time delivery. Then all the extras need to be exported. Except it's not that easy, as it's the opposite. Tesla want to export as many at the start of the quarter, so they're delivered to their customers and count as a vehicle delivered, not just a vehicle produced, like we saw in Q3, with 22,000 vehicles still in transit. It just becomes too hard to juggle this now Tesla has so many more vehicles to ship out. The additional stress and cost of pushing them out is not worth it, even if it makes for great FUD and gives the market reasons to slaughter Tesla's stock price. So Tesla need to export to Europe, Australia, the rest of Asia early in the quarter, and then judge the right amount of vehicles remaining for the domestic market in China for the rest of the quarter. I believe there is likely more gross profit per vehicle for local Chinese sales, possibly more profit from domestic European sales now too once Giga Berlin is ramped further. Margins will increase once Giga Berlin ramps in Europe, as there will be no tariffs in the EU and lower delivery costs. Alright, well, all great theories. So how can we validate them? Well, if demand is saturating in all nations, then we should be seeing low wait times for all markets. So how about we check? Well, France is a reasonably large market, and it's still saying you have to wait until February to March to receive your Model Y rear-wheel drive. That's a 5 to 6 months wait still. Quite some time. Australia is another reasonably sized market too, but you can't get one until February, or even as far as potentially May next year. Japan, another decent market, as in the third largest in the world, and you have to wait until February or March. In fact, in New Zealand, the Model Y has just become the most popular car sold in September, beating the previous top-selling vehicle, the Ford Ranger, which is actually a work truck anyway, and that starts at under 50,000 New Zealand dollars, compared to the Model Y at $76,000. Just for some perspective, there were over 1,500 registrations in September, compared to 221 BYD Attos that came in as the next biggest selling EV at only a $58,000 price point, $20,000 cheaper than the Y. Yeah, the competition is here, selling 1/7 the number of Teslas, despite the Tesla costing over 1/3 more. Oh, and the waiting list in New Zealand for the BYD is about a month, so they're not supply constrained. Now, if our theory is correct, then it's possible that Germany may have a lower wait time than the rest of Europe due to Tesla wanting to push out more domestic sales. And yes, it is just November to January wait time, as they can ship from Giga Berlin. What about America though? Tesla's most profitable market. Are we facing potential demand issues there? Yes, possibly, but not due to increased supply or people not wanting Teslas. It's due to the government once again getting involved in business. In the US, well, all potential customers there know that prices are coming down in January by a massive $7,500. However, if you did order a Model Y, you likely only paid about $59,000 for it due to such long waiting lists. And if you decide to cancel your order now, then the price becomes $66,000. But you do have the $7,500 saving, but this car is $7,000 more, and you have to join the back of the waiting list again. I think those timelines match up about right for when the wait time of the price was still that low. The same is not true for the Model 3 though. So that could be a bit of a dilemma. Tesla may have to offer some other incentives for people to take their orders earlier, or maybe even offer an option to order next year with a discount. Some people are speculating that Tesla may let you take delivery next year for an additional fee. Personally, I think that feels a little bit too much like gaming the system. But you see how fun business becomes when the government gets involved? Business is tough at the best of times. Governments just take it to a whole other level. Although, sure, from next year onwards, this tax credit is crazy for Tesla. It will be hard for Tesla to manage demand again, and I'm sure there is a likelihood they'll have to end up raising prices. For example, if there is still a $60,000 Model Y from Austin, or at least eventually when they start making 4680 vehicles again, I think we can agree it sounds like good value at $52,500 after the credit. Although in 2020, the long-range Model Y actually cost under $50,000, just to give you some perspective again of how much Tesla have raised prices. In conclusion, I think we're possibly seeing some of Tesla's demand saturate in some markets. Well, possibly just one market, China, albeit quite a large one. But Europe is also quite large, with more affluent consumers and higher gas prices. You might be concerned once Giga Berlin ramps up fully and increases supply even further, that it also saturates Europe. But that's not the plan there. They will eventually move to 4680 Model Ys. There's a 50 gigawatt-hour 4680 battery capacity facility there. That would be sufficient cell supply and would likely mean they drop LFP sales there, and China is the LFP hub, which would make sense. And worst case scenario, Tesla can eventually drop their prices slightly, and then demand will just return, and margins will still be high. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.